innocent bystanders. Welcome to another episode of an Angel Honey Unicorn comic book reviews. I'm Alan the Unicorn, and I will be the only person today, so we'll get through a lot of books quickly, and trying to make up for my video from last week that I didn't get because I was out of town. So I'm going to get right back to it. If you can, like, share, and subscribe. We would love to have more conversation, more people. Let me know what you think of the videos, what you think we could do better, what books we could look at. It'd be awesome. Also, we're going to be spoiling the books for the week, so if you haven't read your books, you may want to take a moment, read those first, and then come back and see me. Otherwise, I'm going to be spoiling for you, and then we'll just go from there. So this is going to be, let's see, my first pick is going to be Tommy Gun Wizards. It is by Dark Horse. It is written by Christian Ward, and art was by Sammy Kivelä and also Christian Ward. So this one is it's a 30s era kind of crime novel-esque. It's got Capone and other people of that era that are kind of the detectives that were well known around that time. But it starts off in this bar. This guy comes in. These magic people kind of talk about how he's involved in something, and they are not. He's kind of like a. I don't know. They're suggesting that he is like taking a supplement to be able to give him magic powers. But then all of a sudden the cops bust in and bust everybody that's a wizard, or bust this one guy. And this other guy kind of disappears. Then it goes through some cuts to court where it talks about some like not only the detectives. It says they're like kind of introduces them, but then kind of tells a little bit of like what their kind of stories about. Like Drake Wilson, he's a lady killer hotshot, but he's secretly gay. Detective Penny Jackson Smith, he's a hipster, all around cat's meow, logistically smart. So it kind of just gives a little bit of introduction of each of the kind of detective characters and what they're going to be dealing with. And then there's Eliot Ness, another big famous person back in the 30s. And it talks about, it flashes back to the bar where they're kind of having a little bit of a fight with the magic guys. And one of the guys gets knocked out by the bartender, who is apparently in league with them, and then the other magic user that's kind of in there disappears. He kind of gives them a little bit of a warning. So then it cuts to the cops. They're talking about all the different stuff. The guy they brought in throws up this like vomit creature that starts to come alive, and then it comes and attacks everybody. In comes another one of the characters, or the cops on the team. And then it cuts to Al Capone showing up, and then, or they say that he's killed. They say Al Capone's dead. Then it cuts to it looks like they've killed somebody else, and Al Capone is actually using their face, and the white wizard that was in the bar that disappeared earlier is now with a red witch, and she kind of changes his face, and they are kind of setting up some plans to be. To cause chaos and things. And the cop that came in and killed the kind of vomit creature, he figures out the way that they're laundering money through the church. So they send the guy's head in a box to the cops, and they are realizing that they kind of reveal that Eliot Ness is into the drug they inferred to earlier. Then it has like a little backup story that is some kind of sci-fi backup story. There's not enough pages to really judge that one, so I'm curious to see when that book comes out, if it'll be any good. Anyways, this is an interesting book. It's different premise. It's kind of a weird combination between wizards and like magic users versus like 30s cops, which is kind of interesting. But I like it. I think it's neat that they have this kind of like prohibition against magic, and they're kind of hunting these people down to stop them. So I'm curious to see how this one's going to go. But it does kind of get a little confusing somewhat because I'm not quite sure of the uh, rules of this world. And so I am kind of excited to see what the rest is going to bring. And so all in all, I really like this issue. I thought it was a good book. I'm curious to see where they're going to go with it. And I think a lot of people will. I think it'll be kind of a good ride. So I give this one probably 4 out of 5 unicorn horns, and I'm excited to see what they're going to bring into it next. The next one I'm going to do is Mirage, Dr. Mirage #1, Valiance. The artist is Nick Robles, and the writer is Magdalena Vasiggio. This one's kind of weird. So it starts with it looks like Dr. Mirage falling into the ocean. She falls all the way to the bottom. She talks about her dead husband and how all the people that she loved are gone. And she's going to use this magic to unlock doors to the dead. So she does this. It kind of blows a giant hole in her ceiling of her house, and she's kind of losing her mind from loneliness and stuff. All of a sudden, there's a knock at the door, so she goes there, and there's this girl that talks about her. She's like, I'm also, I'm also a person that sees the dead. I can help you. And and they also say that Dr. Mirage had a show. Her and her husband had a show together about paranormal investigation, and so it's kind of she misses that. She misses him, and when she brings it back from the dead, then she's gonna have their show again because it's her ghost. She had him as a ghost on the show, so he'll help her again. But the girl's like, you want to go see your husband? You have to figure out where you're at. And right now you're in the land of the dead already. You're there. You need to get out in order to see the dead again because right now you're with them. And she's like, I don't think so. So she takes these pills and she's able to kind of give Dr. Mirage a vision of what she sees, and she shows her husband, and she's like, so what do we got to do now? She's like, well, now we're gonna like kind of team up and we're gonna get you out of here. And she said that they're kind of in hell, so I'll help you get through this. And so honestly, this book is a little about as convoluted as my reviews half the time. It's too much. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't really excite me. The premise, I think I'm supposed to care about these characters, but I don't. I don't care about Dr. Mirage, or her husband. And so a lot of the investment, the emotional turmoil that they're going through, I really just don't know enough about them to have that. And so this book feels like it should have been like issue 12 of a series. So I feel like there should have been like some setup, maybe showing her and her ghost husband and their show, kind of showing that success, and then him going away, her being trapped here, and then trying to get out. Like this seems like an issue that should have been further down the line and not issue 1. So there's probably more involved in the Valiant universe with her, but this is a #1. It should be able to explain what your premise is and where you're going with this. But sadly, it does not. So I didn't care for it that much. The art's really nice. It's kind of psychedelic. People look like people. All in all, the art was really good. So I give it about 2 out of 5 unicorn horns just because the art happened to save it. So maybe it might find legs with some other audience, but fortunately probably not with me. I don't think I'm going to get issue 2. Just wasn't my bag. Let's see. I'm also going to review Man or Black, which is actually kind of interesting and a little bit different. Colin Bunn and Brian Hurt are the writers, and Tyler Cook is the artist. So the last issue, the sheriff burst into flames. This van, they found the van that burst into flames. A lot of people bursting into flames, and so this issue kind of deals with that, like the repercussions. It starts off with one of the girls, finds this. She's kind of like in this dream state where she finds this body. She's running from this guy in bandages, and the wizard kind of helps her and saves her. So she's kind of having these nightmares, but then she gets saved. So it cuts to the hospital or the sheriff's office where the sheriff has died, and now the deputy's kind of taken over, and he's having to deal with all the stuff that, like, she has to deal with all the stuff that he's already dealt with, that the sheriff normally deals with, but he also has to deal with like his own emotions and everything like that. So he's traumatized by it. He doesn't want to move his stuff into the office just quite yet. So he's trying to figure stuff out. And then it cuts to the Black Manor where the family is all there, and then this other lady that the grandpa kind of rescued, or the dad rescued. And so they kind of talk about different factions in the wizarding places. She shows them that she's got some kind of magic skills because she lights this fire in the hearth. And so they're arguing over like who's succeeding the dad, and why she shouldn't be there. The girl, he shouldn't have rescued her. And he kind of infers that he might pick somebody else that's not them to take over the kind of power, I guess, that he has. Then it cuts back to the sheriff, where he's talking to this other cop in another city, and just kind of talk about how he's having a hard time dealing with the death of the sheriff, and he's wanting him to look into some stuff to see if he can find out some similar background stuff, since they really don't have a really good forensics department, and all that. Then it cuts to the restaurant where there's a guy there, and he sounds like one of the daughters is the waitress there, and so this guy's kind of being creepy, and he kind of says things that is out of place. So she uses she calls her dad, and she's like, I need you to come down here and figure this out because something's bad. And he's like, okay. So cops come, they try to arrest the guy, and then all of a sudden one of the waitresses bursts into flames. And it sounds like the kind of homeless guy that they were arresting, like he was trying to save the waitress from bursting into flames. So he jumps after her and he bursts in flames. So then the deputy is just kind of losing his mind. He's just having a hard time with the sheriff bursting into flames, and so it shows him, and he starts painting the walls since they're all black from from the sheriff bursting into flames. He actually starts painting the walls, and while he does, his friend calls him from the police department, calls him and tells him about this girl that is that they had rescued. He talks about her, and she was involved in a lot of stuff that happened back in this other place that she was a suspect of. So it sounds like she's got a checkered past. But I think he's the dad is dad of Black Manor is going to. It feels like he's trying to get her to take over for them because the other people don't care and they're kind of selfish. So I'm curious to see how that's going to happen, if he's going to give it to the girl and then everybody else is going to lose their mind, or if something else is going to happen. The other book I read is Clairvoyant. It's by Blue Tree Comics. It's written by Graham Christian, and the art is by Kenjo Aoki. This had a very Japanimation feel. It's in the future. It's this guy. He kind of has. They allude that he has like visions of the future. So then it cuts to this kind of president getting off the plane. He's kind of shaking hands, and then all of a sudden there's 2 shots fired, and it kills not only the ambassador that he's shaking hands with, but also the president guy, and it ends up being the guy that can see into the future. So he uses his and then he just starts to annihilate everybody. Tries to kill as many people as he possibly can with all the bullets. And then it cuts to this lady who is a cop, and she's apparently a really good shot because she has this little target, and she actually shoots the words WTF. And after the little assistant comes and tells her, he's like, hey, all this stuff has happened. She's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So she starts off, they go to they go to see the bodies, and they start talking all this kind of stuff with their precinct and the people that are in charge, and she's trying to lean towards this this guy is going to help her that's in prison. So she ends up going to the prison where he meets her, or she meets him, and when she touches him, he calls her by name. He's like, he kind of he's like, welcome to my world, and that's where it ends. So there's a lot more, a little bit involved. It was kind of interesting book. I don't know if I'll pick up number 2, but I have to say I really liked the art. Was really neat. Very simplistic, very long, lean, very round heads. Like, I don't know, aesthetically it was very neat to see. I like the buildings they did. So I'm curious, but also the story was good enough that I'm curious to see where it's going to go, if it's going to go anywhere. So all in all, I would give that one probably a 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. I'm excited to see what the next issue brings, to see what they're going to do with it. So that's going to be my books for the week that I'm going to review. The rest of them I'm just going to kind of go over really quick for my pull list. The Goon is very much a Goon book. It's very simple. Somebody's spiking this drink, and they are turning people into monsters. So the Goon goes out, bashes his head, saves everybody. The Offenders, number 1. This one was the Goon. I'd probably give probably like a 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. It's just a fun read. Nothing really complex. The story's very easy to understand. Even though I don't read the Goon, like this issue was just very quick, and the character's kind of funny. I like the sidekick character. He's in love with this old woman, and he talks about waxing her back, and they make fun of him. So that was pretty funny. So the Offenders, it's number 1. It's about these heroes that are trying to get on this big super team, and the super team rejects them, and it's because they're always on drugs, they're getting high, they don't care, so they end up getting rejected. It's just about them being kind of weird and trying to prove them wrong. It wasn't very good. It wasn't very well written. The art was not that good. Even the reveal at the end was that one of the super teams, it's like one of the guys on the Pothead team is the brother to one of the superhero, like the big Justice League-esque kind of team. It just wasn't that good. Sadly, 1 out of 5 unicorn horns. I will not be picking up issue 2. Ruby by DC, issue 1. It was like a starter book. Like, it had a lot of explanation, kind of explained the world. Nothing really happened. It was kind of an odd book. I wasn't quite sure what they were doing with it. It was like almost like an introduction book. Like, it should have been a 0 or something, not a number 1 issue. But I don't know. Maybe it might get better, but I won't know because I'm not getting issue 2. So I'd say 1 out of 5 unicorn horns. Necromancer map. This was very slow. This was another number 1. Very slow. I feel like I'm not sure what they were wanting to do with it. A lot of dialogue, a lot of character building. And it wasn't even great character building. It was just kind of character building-esque. It didn't flow. It didn't do anything. Like, there was just nothing to it. It's just about this girl that has necromancer powers, and apparently she's trying to find this. She's trying to get into this library to find this other book, or to find another lead, and it goes nowhere. And then she meets this person, and I don't know. Like, he's sick, and it was okay. It was 2 out of 5 unicorn horns. I feel like the art was decent, and I had hopes for it that it was going to be kind of cool because anything called the Necromancer Maps sounds really awesome, but it wasn't. Like, she was almost like too nice to be a necromancer. It's like she's a happy necromancer, which is just awkward. It just didn't work well. Sierra and the Royal Stars. Sierra, she finally gets her, kind of embraces her powers, that she's going to be this somebody special. She's found the stars, the bull, and he's helping her, so it's kind of like this magical companion. They go back to her village or her kingdom, and come to find out the uncle that was trying to take over last issue has finally taken over as she was gone, and he has the dad and the sister imprisoned, and he killed the brother. So she's mad now, and but he was going to kill them all, but ends up the scorpion that one of the stars that she's looking for, the scorpion comes and stops the king, the new king, from killing everybody, and she's like threatens them, so they end up getting out of there and leaving on their adventures. So I think she's gonna go out, find whatever power she needs, and then come back and save everybody. Killer Instinct #2. I don't even know what to tell you about this one. This one was like, not only was the art horrible, but the dialogue was awful, and it just didn't make any sense. I don't know what was going on. It was just bad. It looks very amateurish. It reads very amateurish. I'm not for sure what's going on in the book. Maybe somebody else will get it that I don't understand. But I didn't read Killer Instinct #1, so maybe I'm missing something but this does not make me want to read #1. It's not good, sadly. So I give it 0 out of 5 unicorn horns. Not something I would recommend. I hope they find an audience and they have amazing success, but with the way the book was written and drawn and the premise itself, I don't understand, so not my bag. Lumberjanes #65. I love Lumberjanes. They're so good, so much fun. I love to read them. They're so entertaining. The characters are fun. This kind of introduces the characters again from another camp. Diana from I think like Volume 2, the goddess Diana, and some other things are happening. They're hunting aliens. Meteorites falls. It's typical Lumberjanes adventures, but it also brings in kind of this other group of kids, this other camp of kids that's kind of different, and how they interact with the other 5 girls. It's really fun. I like it. So I love Lumberjanes. I give that a 5 out of 5 unicorn horns. This particular artist is really entertaining. I like them. It's very distinct, but it's not as overdone as the last one. The last artist was a little bit too much. I think they kind of went a little too cartoony and wacky with it. This one has a little bit more defined parameters of like the girls and what they look like, and I really liked it. I thought it was really good. Buffy the Vampire Slayer Chosen One, issue 1. This is kind of like Tales of the Slayer. It was okay. There wasn't anything groundbreaking. It was just, the stories were really short. I would have liked more, but sadly it is what it is. If you like the Slayer lore, if you like Buffy the Vampire Slayer like I do, you may enjoy it a little bit more than say the normal person. But honestly, it's just not. It wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be. I wish they would do more stories where I think maybe if they did less of an anthology and more of a, maybe like have a 3 or 4 issue arc of each Slayer, they could build more. But these ones are really fast and dirty. Stories are just done, and so it is what it is. I'd say probably 3 out of 5 unicorn horns, just because I am a fan of Buffy. So this is kind of fun for me, but overall I was not that impressed. Miskatonic High. I'm not for sure if there must have been another series of this, because it feels like I should have known all these people and all these characters already, because I don't. But they don't introduce them the greatest. But overall, the story's still okay. This girl owns a farm. Her friends come to the farm to help with this pick stuff. Come to find out there's rats under the ground. They go to try. All of a sudden, one of their friends falls down a sinkhole, and then all the other friends kind of eventually follow in, and come to find out the person that owns the girl that lives on the farm her mom and dad are gone, and she finds out that her mom and dad are actually rat people. Sorry, her dad's a rat person. Her mom like left or something or died. Anyways, so she's like part rat person, and they have like this kind of weird cave dwelling adventure where they find these rat people who attack them, and they get out, and then all of a sudden she realizes she's part rat person, and so her grandmother's like, you're not like them, you should stay and try to fight your nature. And I don't know, it was odd, but not in a bad way. It was just odd, like in a weird premise way, but I didn't mind it. The art was pretty decent. You could tell that each character kind of had a distinct little nuances to make them look different. So I don't know, I'd say it's an average book. 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. Knights Temporal, issue 2. I thought I was really gonna like this one, but I just don't. A lot of time hopping, and it gets really confusing. The first one was okay. This one I just kind of, it didn't keep my interest, so I gave it up eventually. I read it all the way through, but I don't think I'm gonna get issue 3. This one was really confusing. A lot of time hops. He's figuring things out. I'm not for sure the side character is betraying him somehow. So, but 2 out of 5 unicorn horns. Maybe somebody's out there reading it and enjoys it. I'm not for sure. It's just not my bag, I guess. I like to say that a lot, by the way. Not my bag. Freedom Fighters number 8. They revealed that Doll Woman is a bad guy at the end. Black Condor goes back to Detroit. He finds his grandmother, and finds out his parents were killed, and goes and helps free them, and he finally helps free the kind of worker class people, and it's okay. It's okay. I'm not quite sure what they could do to make me enjoy it more, but there's something missing that's just not doing it for me. I'm not for sure why, but it's just not. The art is really nice. I really like it, but overall the story, I can't get into the characters. I don't care. It's kind of weird. I just don't get it. I don't know, and I don't know why. I can't tell you. I wish I could. So 2 out of 5 unicorn horns, unfortunately. Stranger Things number 4. Stranger Things 6, issue number 4. The 6 finally is getting ready to escape, so she gathers everybody up. They're running out, and then 3 is getting ready to get. She sees that 3 is getting ready to get shot, which she loves him, so she tells him to run. So they run. She jumps in front of the bullets. And she's excited at the end because she changed things, and 3 and the other twin get out, so she's very happy about that. So she's hoping that they, live a long life. But I don't know. It wasn't that good. I was hoping it would end well or do something exciting, and it really doesn't. It's kind of like if Minority Report were written fast, and so it's just. It doesn't work. There's not a lot of build up, even though they've had several issues to build it up. This one doesn't give it a good ending to where you understand why they did this book. It's not my favorite. The art's okay. The premise is the dialogue's okay. The story is just lackluster, kind of slow, nothing really happening. So it was kind of sad. I was hoping it would pick up, but it didn't. So I give this one about 2 out of 5 unicorn horns. Killers, I really like this one. This one's really exciting. Killers number 2, they find out more information. They're trying to, they find out that all the ninjas, all the different ninja series are tasked to find these tears to help their old master who helped them release their powers. And so all of them they realize all of them are trying to look for it, and so they start making team ups and figuring out who's who. And then at the end, one of the ninjas and 2 of the ninjas are on a plane, and they see each other, so they're getting ready to fight on the plane. So that's going to lead to always adventure. I think that's fun. Nothing like a good plane fight where everybody gets sucked out of the window. So I'm curious to see what they're gonna do. But I like this one. The only thing I don't like is it is very confusing that they don't introduce the characters that well. They introduce them quickly, but they don't like. I wish I would have read more to understand who they all came from, where they all came from. So I wish there was like a little word bubble or told me where I could find some of the information because it is a little confusing. But overall, I really like this one. This one was pretty decent. 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. I really liked it. Thor issue 16. It's the ending of the arc. It's kind of like Thor is supposed to be taking over, but he doesn't show up for his coronation. So Odin and everybody's waiting on him, and they kind of have this wrapping up where Odin and Freya they kind of reconcile. Thor's kind of off doing he's kind of helping people and trying to rebuild things. I love the art in this. It's so pop and chunky and kind of watercolory. It's just very beautiful. Like sometimes though, I feel like it does get a little bit weird because you can't always tell who's who right off. But if you look well enough, you can figure it out. But sadly, it's not the best one. Best art to be to identify each of the characters, but it's still beautiful and it works well with the book. I really liked it, so I would say 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. I think it's the last issue. I think they're going to do a new Thor series, kind of set in the future. But all in all, I thought this one was kind of neat. Power Pack, Grow Up, issue number 1. I think this kind of was like a one-shot. It went back in the past, kind of told a story. It was like an untold story of Power Pack. They team up with Kitty Pryde and Wolverine to fight the Brood. They fight the Brood, and then at the end there's a little backup story about how Katie wants to give her brother a really nice present for his birthday. So it was very Power Pack, very very childish, very young, but it was cute. I liked it. The art unfortunately was not the best, especially it was a weird transition because they had like a more the art looked a lot like they did in the past in the first story, and then the second story is very much manga-esque, kind of American manga look to it, and this the big eyes and kind of like this big heads, and just looked very kid comic book, but it didn't. So it kind of broke up a little bit. I wish they would have kept with the same artist just to tell the whole story, because the actual story at the end that they changed the artist for was just a continuation of the story before, just kind of like a different perspective. So, but all in all, I love Power Pack. It was a good kind of a nostalgia story. I'd say 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. It was okay. It was good. It was just the middle of the road. Marvel Monsters number 1. I don't know. I didn't read any of the Marvel Monsters, so this number 1 issue was kind of weird. It's this kid that can make monsters, and this other kid, Frankenstein Jr. kind of guy, that's he can make monsters, and they fight, and there's a lot of confusing monsters fighting each other. The art was so detailed that unfortunately it lost itself in itself. So a lot of the monsters were entangled fighting, but you couldn't tell what was what or who was who. And so that was really off-putting, and so I couldn't really quite tell what was going on in a lot of the books, so I didn't enjoy it as much. I hope people that enjoyed the Monster series enjoys it, but I did not like this one at all. 1 out of 5 unicorn horns. The writing wasn't that great or exciting, so overall it was just okay, and it just lost me. So. And sadly, I still have like 4 other books that I didn't get to read from last week. I'm still playing catch up from my trip. So hopefully by next week's show, I will actually be on track and have all my stuff done. We'll see. Fingers crossed. No promises. But until then, if you can, like, share, and subscribe. Like I said, I'd always love to have more people. I'd love to have, if there's suggestions that anybody has, that'd be great. But until then, I hope your pull list is full and you have a great week. Bye.